Alright, so what you saw there was my own version of doing the Superman kind of like takeoff, because I was like, what do you guys want to see next? And in the last video, some guy was like, do the Superman takeoff. That little 8-second clip took me like 8 hours. And why did you waste your time on? Look, it was fun. I learned a whole lot. I actually have some clips of me like flying through the clouds and stuff. Anyways, today's video is a really popular question. I get asked all the time in the live streams, is web development saturated? And I really wish there was like a feel-good answer to this. Something I'd be like, oh no, if you just do this boot camp and you just get this degree and do these certifications or take this course if you're self-taught, then you're sure to get a job. There's not. I can't tell you that, because almost every job market is saturated. When I had mechanical engineering junior jobs were saturated. Everyone's looking for an internship, or everyone is doing the same thing as me. But because of the rise of the boot camps and all these online platforms where you can learn to code, people are like, is this saturated? There's a lot of things that are saturated. There's a whole lot of people looking for jobs, and there's a whole lot of people that aren't qualified to do those jobs. So what it really comes down to is saturation means competition, okay? And that's it, right? The competition is good. Competition is healthy. But for people who are like, it's saturated, that's coming from the perspective of, oh, there's too many people, so I don't stand a chance. Why are you thinking that? You should be thinking to yourself, like, oh, I know I have what it takes to like stand out from the crowd. Saturation is not an issue. I'll think outside the box. I'll get creative. I'll make it happen. I'll make it work. When it comes to real life, there's no participation trophy. You don't get a trophy just for showing up. It's not like when you're on a team sports team in middle school and they're just like, here's a trophy. Thanks for playing. Thanks for being part of it. That doesn't happen in real life. If you want to be the best, you have to be the best. Do things that the best do. Spend your weekends learning and doing things that are productive. When people are like, oh, it's saturated, I can't find a job. All right, well, then you have to be better. You got to do better. Do more work. Figure out a way to stand out from the crowd. And I really wish like it didn't have to come down to this. There's a lot of lazy people out there like, well, it's just, I don't have a very good chance. Like, well, if you leave it to chance, then sure, you don't have a good chance. Yeah, I know it's frustrating because you have to put in the work, put in the hours, do things when you don't want to. Saturation is competition, and competition is healthy, unless you see it from the other viewpoint, in which you're just like, yeah, but, I've tried everything. Well, if you've tried everything, then you'd have a job. You'd have whatever career you wanted. You'd have that position. You'd know that language, right? You can't say everything. So here's another thing that people talk about on the stream. There's not a whole lot of job security if you're a junior dev, but all these people coming in from boot camps and CS, and they're willing to take $40,000 a year and work 120 hours a week. There's just no job security anymore. Do you think there will be job security in the future? And I get it, right? If you got kids, wife and kids, family, you need that insurance. You need to be able to provide. Maybe you're the breadwinner. But it's not the company's job to provide you job security. It's your job to provide you job security. It's your job to have those skills in your back pocket at all times, to know if they make that budget cut and you're in it and they slide you out, you just move to another company. It's not the company's responsibility to cut their budget around you so that you get to stay there. It's just business. That's just how it works. Job security is irrelevant. You don't even want to take a job out of college and work there for 25 years or 30 years. Most likely that won't happen unless you're at one of these huge companies that's been around for like 200 years already. But it's not a good idea because people end up stagnating, their salaries end up stagnating. So you should always be learning is basically the moral of the story there. So when you guys graduate college or the boot camp or you're self-taught, how many of you actually like feel ready to do the job? Like, oh, I guess I'm done learning. Because if you come out of school or you even have that attitude in general, you're done. You're already done before you started. All right, so here's like the tangibles, right? You need a brand and you need value. But like increasing your value, yeah, I say that all the time. Like, you need to learn skills that are difficult for other people to learn. You need to learn how to be able to handle boring things that people give up on in the middle of it. You're like, oh, this is going to take forever. Yeah, this is just boring. I'm not excited to do this anymore. And then you just stop, right? You need to be able to work through those boring things or the things that people don't want to do because it's hard. Because you might have to learn some extra math on the side so you can come back and do this other side hustle. So it's like a side hustle to learn enough to be able to do another side hustle, right? You have to do those sorts of things to raise your value. So this is the thing with value. You have to know how to apply it. You can study nights, weekends, you can know all the skills there is to know, do every single Udemy course, but if you don't know how to apply it for yourself and more often other people, companies that you work for or clients that you work for, then it doesn't matter. You're out of luck. There's a lot more soft skills that go into this and realizing when to use what and where, and without people telling you to do it. Like you see something and you realize that's a problem before someone else does, and you know that this could be improved. But I still think that this whole value thing is kind of vague, so let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. And we're going to come at these examples from the perspective of a front-end developer. So when you're applying to jobs, you should be asking yourself, how can I make this company more money? Right? Everyone else is worried about saying the wrong thing to HR, making the wrong body language, not passing the code test, and messing up in the interview process. And you're like, well, I think about that stuff too. And that's good. You should think about that stuff. But that's part of the average standard package. That's just part of the game. That just comes with it. And this is where you get your edge. Because in your mind, you already work there. You already have the job. You're on the offensive. You're on their page looking for, let's say, UI UX, bad UI UX, anything not working, any console log bugs. Another example, is their page slow? Did you run an audit on it? But not only do you do the research up front to find the problems, you also come to the interview or whoever with solutions or things that you would recommend. Maybe not a solution because I know you can't access everything from your level, or maybe you're working on a different project. But you're doing things without them having to ask you to do it, right? You're on the offensive, you're self-motivated, and you're already bringing value day one besides them just considering, okay, candidate number 31 next. Like, you're already doing things. You're already bringing the value. And so that's how you get this edge. That's how you show them that you're different. Here's another example. Let's say you're looking at a company and they have this great product and you think that it would be awesome if they have a mobile app. So you pick up your phone, you start looking, and you realize they don't have a mobile app. You're like, wait, why don't they have a mobile app? This would like work wonders if they did this. And so you come to the interview and you're like, hey, so I had this idea for mobile app. Maybe you guys have talked about it internally, but I also thought about it because this could do X, Y, and Z. And they're not even paying you to say this, and you're already trying to improve their business. That looks awesome. That's just really separates you. The main thing here is if you study for the code test and the culture fit and all that stuff, that's fantastic. You should do that. But you need to do a whole lot more, right? Because if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else has. And so, just go ahead and get in line. And let me tell you, the line for average is pretty long. So I actually did some research here to try and see the growth rate of people graduating with CS degrees and the growth rate of people graduating in boot camps and then the growth rate of jobs, and then comparing those two. And to be honest, the stats are pretty foggy. There was one website which showed an increase of CS degree graduation by like 24%. And then I Googled it also and I found like software development jobs are supposed to increase 24% over the next 10 years. And so the math and the stats are a little foggy. There's no conclusive answer, but statistics are usually based around averages. So let me show you something. All right, so this is a bell curve. We've all seen it. If you've ever gone to college, you've been graded on the bell curve. And this is up here, right? This is the class average. And then back here, we have the slackers, and then over here we have the top performers. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be at the top with all these average people, all these, doing what everyone else does type of people. It's your job to be here on this end, the outskirts, the outstanders, the top performers over here. So the point is, if you do what everyone else does, and you take the generalized bad advice that's out there, you're going to end up here, right here, average with most people, and you don't want to be most people. And the question I ask myself is the person giving you advice where you want to be in a few years, or have they done what you want to do? So I actually ask myself this question pretty often, and has this person done what I want to do in the last couple of years, or are they currently doing it? Because if so, then yeah, you probably have some validity to what you're saying. If you go watch any YouTube video and look at the comments, you'll see that a lot of people just have a say. They think they know. Anyone that says, ask for advice, let me know in the comments below, just look at the comments and people are like, I think the key is this, or you did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, and they have no idea, have never even done it, not one day in their life. Everybody has an opinion, which they're entitled to, but just keep that in mind when you're taking advice. I'm not trying to be super vague and give you like just work hard and be an outlier and be a top performer and all that stuff, because I gave you some tangible examples, but it depends on what you know and who you're applying to and how you could bring that kind of value to them. Maybe you're a backend developer, maybe you're a mobile developer, it just depends. The truth is those tangible examples that I gave aren't the most valuable. They're great starting points, and I can imagine everyone's going to come in and the interviewers are going to be like, why is everyone doing research on our UI UX and like everyone's checking our console log bugs when they're in interviews now? Like, what is this? But maybe in some faraway future, Google removes the console feature. The UI UX is automated by some robot or something. I know it's subjective and opinionated in design and all that stuff, but maybe there's some super AI out there that just automates all this, right? The more valuable skill is learning how to learn and knowing how to apply your value to other people to increase their value. And The gift is to the giver. It's a cliche saying, I know, but when you bring other people more value, when you help other people, those people in turn usually help you. But to get started, you have to work on you first. So that's my take on, is web development saturated? And you could take web development out, you could put business degree, you could put engineering, you could put psychology. It's all saturated. There's a whole lot of people that think they're qualified, that are applying to jobs, and a whole lot of other people applying to jobs doing the same thing, and they're all wondering why they're not getting the job. And so they're just like, it's saturated, there's too many people, I can't do it. What you need to do is realize it's a competition. Competition is healthy. You have to embrace the difficult struggle of improvement while you're getting better in the competition, but it's a win-win for both parties. The company gets a qualified candidate, and you just improve your skills and increase your job security, because it's not on them, it's on you. So in my opinion, you're either first or you're last. So there's this joke that I always remember when I'm talking about if you're not first, you're last, and how competition is good, and you're like, well, I can't be number one in everything. I'm like, I get that, right? But like, the joke is, knock knock, who's there? Second place who? That's it.